think we've been saying for a while that it's pretty obvious that there has to be someone like bankrolling the whole anti-trans people, like testifying at all these different places across the country, you know? Like, how is it that Chloe Cole, a 19-year-old person, is being flown around the country? Like, how can she afford all these tickets? You know, who is paying for these hotel rooms, et cetera, et cetera? So this seems like we finally have our answer on this very recently posted article. Billionaire hedge fund quietly financing anti-trans advocacy across the U.S. So it seemed clear to me for a while that someone out there is bankrolling this, and the guy's name is Joseph Edelman. He is not known generally for donating to conservative causes, but HuffPost has uncovered major donations to groups opposing trans rights specifically. He is a hedge fund CEO and billionaire biotech investor. His wife provided a $1 million donation to help launch this organization called Do No Harm, which is a very misleadingly named conservative advocacy group which pushes anti-trans legislation all across the country. Do No Harm sells itself as a group of doctors who are concerned about, quote, ideology influencing the medical profession. This organization has not disclosed its donors or fundraising, but tax filings for the Edelman Family Foundation, which Edelman founded, blah, 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 show that the foundation approved a $1 million donation to Do No Harm in 2022, the same year that the group was founded. So Do No Harm, what do they do? You know, we're wondering what it is that they actually do. They hire lobbyists, or they send advocates to at least a half a dozen state houses. They've provided the model language for at least 2 bills restricting gender-affirming care, which have then become law. The group has also filed a handful of lawsuits against efforts to promote diversity in medicine. So it's a legal advocacy group. And like they put political pressure on in the attempt to prevent trans people from, you know, having access to care. Like, this is where the whole intention is coming from behind, oh yeah, we're gonna restrict access to children's care and then call that reasonable and then gradually chip away at adults' care because we've wedged our foot in the door. You know what I mean? Yeah, just one more argument for why billionaires should not exist. You know, this guy is just endowed with the power to decide that he doesn't like trans people, and he's able to funnel a fuck ton of money into basically presenting a false sense that there is, any actual concern. That was a terrible sound. How did I even do that? They send doctors to go testify as though they're experts, even though they're not. This is why you have like dentists speaking out about trans care, is because they're being paid to do it. So let's see. Yeah, he's got a lot of assets, whatever. The contribution to Do No Harm is one of the Edelman's single largest donations. It's also roughly the same amount of money that Do No Harm projected as revenue for 2022, suggesting that the Edelmans were the group's primary funders in that initial year. Edelman is not a high-profile political donor closely associated with conservative causes. The only major electoral donations attached to his name are a handful of contributions of around $50,000 or less to the Democrats and Hillary Clinton in 2016 and 17. So the Edelman Family Foundation, which he founded in 2017, contrastingly has showered 6-figure grants on conservative organizations such as the Cato Institute, Foundation for Individual Rights and Free Expression, the Anti-Critical Race Theory Foundation Against Intolerance and Racism, PragerU, and UATX, which is Barry Weiss's unaccredited anti-cancel culture university. In addition to funding anti-trans rights advocacy through Do No Harm, the Edelman Family Foundation has donated $400,000 to the Manhattan Institute to support, in the foundation's words, a, quote, gender identity initiative. While there are no public descriptions of the initiative on the website, the right-leaning think tank has increasingly published briefs and podcasts critical of trans rights. Manhattan Institute did not respond to a request for comment. Okay, so here's the interesting thing. Do No Harm has also assembled a network of physicians that they can consult for and have them do written testimony, letter writing campaigns, and media hits. The group claims to have more than 5,000 doctors as members, and at least some members are compensated for their advocacy. This is the interesting part. One, there was an endocrinologist named Dr. Daniel Weiss, and he said in a deposition that Do No Harm paid him about $8,000, which turned out to $325 an hour, to submit written testimony in states like Indiana, Utah, North Dakota, and Wyoming in support of bans on gender-affirming care for minors. This exposure led Weiss to a lucrative gig as an expert witness in the legal challenge against Indiana's ban on providing gender-affirming care to minors, the case in which he was deposed. The Indiana Attorney General's office paid Weiss $49,691 for 4 weeks of consulting, according to records obtained by HuffPo. He got hired on by Do No Harm, or one of those related organizations, and has also subsequently made money from the state because the Attorney General's office paid him for his consulting, on top of him being paid for doing this shit in the first place by the Do No Harm group. This is all just so weird. So in addition to propping up medical experts, Do No Harm has paid for activist Chloe Cole's travel when she testifies before state legislators in support of bans on gender-affirming care for minors. Cole, who we reached out to through her lawyer, did not respond to a request for comment here. Cole, 19, has testified before several legislators about detransitioning. Conservatives often point to her story as justification for banning trans care. So yeah, all of her flying around the country and staying in all these different hotels and stuff, like, that's being paid for by this billionaire advocacy group. Okay, and that's the end of the article. It's kind of talking about, like, the people are becoming refugees and, like, they're talking about leaving their states because of that lack of access to medical care. Yeah, it's not, it's just not a good time. But yeah, so at least we have proof now, something that we've been speculating on basically for a while, like essentially speculating that these folks are being bankrolled by someone. And at least now we have evidence through, like, the tax forms and stuff that Huffington Post was able to uncover. Yeah, it is interesting how often the right claim that everything is a psyop or they're using paid actors, and then here we find them literally actually using paid actors. Of course, for the Republicans, every accusation is a confession. They don't care about whether doing something is right or wrong. Like, they don't care about the idea that hiring paid actors to support your whatever. They don't think it's wrong. That is not the situation here. Oh my God. Drink water, y'all. Thank you so much to my patrons and potential future patrons. I especially want to shout out Tiago Nascimento, Mersh Rolvog, Michelle Frateroli, Amanda B., Wellington Marcus, Michelle Winter, Danielle McDonald, Suzanne Maynard, Spooky Heather Sylvia, Past Null Infinity, Jamie Jam, Nova, Elizabeth Bartell, Sojo, Sarah A., Kevin Young, Athiet, Desi Quiche, Liam Hodgson, and Mr. Atheist.